What they're not telling you about Chicago's bloodiest holiday weekend.
Some new details now on a violent Labor Day weekend in the city of Chicago. Since Friday night, 54 people have been shot, 7 people killed. The youngest victim, just 14.
54 shot, 7 dead. One holiday weekend in Chicago, just days before the governor and the mayor rejected Trump's offer for federal help. They called it unconstitutional. Then came the bloodbath. Coincidence or consequence? Trump offered federal agents and guard support, calling Chicago a killing field. The mayor fired back by saying it was illegal and unconstitutional, un-American. That's not just a pushback. That's turning a crime fight into a constitutional fight. Check this out.
A few minutes ago, begging me to call him. No, I will not call the president, asking him to send troops to Chicago.
How do you explain this? Keep in mind, this press conference did happen a few days prior to the Bloodbath incident. But nevertheless, the president extended courtesy to provide help to a state that is known to have a lot of crimes. You deny it. Now, there's so many casualties. My thoughts and prayers and deepest condolences goes out to those family members. But, Mr. Mayor, how do you explain that to a grieving mother, a wife, a sister, right now that has lost a loved one, while you sit there and play politics with people's lives? How do you feel about that? Citizens Chicago locals prepare for Trump's possible deployment of National Guards. Again, keep in mind, these sources were a few days behind the incident, but nevertheless, I guess they say hindsight, right? It says here, when the United States President Donald Trump threatened to flood Chicago with National Guard troops and immigrations and custom enforcement agents earlier this month, Illinois governor said the president lacked the legal authority. So my question is, once again, he lacks legal authority, but it could have been prevented. Shock and awe. Take control of your state. So what do you do? Where do you go from here? And while they played politics, the streets played in blood. Days later, Chicago saw one of the bloodiest holiday weekends. Mass shootings piled up. City Hall pointed to failing crimes rate. But for the families, stats means nothing. City Hall was selling progress, but the streets were selling funerals. Roll the clip. Look at this. A whole city bleeding out in one weekend. Man, this isn't just a headline. This is a failure, plain and simple.
Over Labor Day weekend, Chicago was rocked by violence, with at least 54 people shot and 7 killed across the city by Monday night. Violence prevention groups urged stronger community support, as U.S. President Donald Trump threatened to deploy the National Guard to address the violence in Chicago.
You see, there they go again. They're saying that President Trump is threatening to send the troops, but at this point, is this really a threat? Because it seemed like he's the only one that's looking out for and have the United States citizens' best interests at heart. While you have politicians out here just playing games. You know, the old saying goes, if you talk the talk, you got to walk the walk. You got Newsom out there trying to act like he's Donald Trump. You're not fit, bro. You're not cut out to be that way. Be yourself. You'll have more success if you are yourself. Be your own person. You know? Holidays is supposed to be cookouts with families. I mean, look what we have. You got the governor here. I'm sorry, the mayor, you know. He's just talking about wanting to sue the president and doing this and doing that. But look at this. It's all a failure. So the questions I want to ask you, my viewers, and if anyone from the Chicago area is listening, how do you guys feel about all of this right now? If you were in that position of the governor and the mayor, would you still at this point in time refuse the help that you know could help you? You know, just something to think about. This is just senseless, sad. You know, the streets don't care about politics. They just care about survival. Trump is talking about sending in the National Guard. On the other hand, you have Mayor Johnson. He's pulling out charts left and right saying crime is down. But then again, look at what we're dealing with right now. Let's take a look at this article. You know, it goes on to say right here. In one recent incident, a call for a large disturbance near South Cottage Grove Avenue and East 35th Street in Bronzeville ended with at least 5 people shot early morning. A 17-year-old boy was among the victims, and a person of interest is in custody. You know, this is just crazy. It's crazy. The bottom line is leaders are going to argue numbers, but, you know, the streets are keeping track of the real issues. When survival becomes a story, leaders should have listened. But here's what comes next. When fear spreads, neighborhoods shut down, businesses close early, parents keep kids inside. Trump slammed local leaders as clueless, and plenty of residents agreed. That's Trump doing what he does best. But for once, a lot of Chicagoans agreed with him. Watch closely. Here's Trump firing back.
Of the president's use of the military here at home. He said today he will be sending the National Guard to Chicago and Baltimore to help with law enforcement.
It is not a matter of if, he said, but when. Nancy Cordes is at the White House.
Well, we're going in. I didn't say when. We're going in.
After hinting as much for weeks, President Trump said point blank today he will deploy the National Guard to the Windy City.
Chicago is a hellhole right now. Baltimore is a hellhole right now.
Trump cited crime statistics from this past long weekend. 9 dead in Chicago, nearly 60 shot. Though when it comes to violent crimes committed per capita, Chicago ranks 80th in the nation.
No federal troops in the city of Chicago.
Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson and Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker have both begged the president not to send troops.
I refuse to pretend that any of this is normal.
54 shot, 7 dead. A lifeline was offered and refused. Now Chicago waits. Will the leaders correct themselves or will they double down? Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, share, drop your thoughts in the comments. Because Chicago deserves more than headlines. And until we meet again, please stay informed and engage.